Hey, what's up, guys? It's Devin and Coach here again with another episode, or shall I say, another podcast. You know how it goes. We're not even going to keep count because you already know we're going to at least 3,000.
And beyond. We're going until we're like 80 in wheelchairs. We're just gonna build the platform and build a better brand. That's all there is to
Rolling
it.
around like, hey, today we're the Bridget Again podcast. You know, like rolling around like my little chair. You know, you'll be like, well, I'll be like 60. No, yeah. We'll be the future. It'll be the future. So you'll be like 130,
God dang, bro, I'm not that old.
and I'll be like 110.
But
And then we'll be like, rolling around. You know.
bottom line, we're gonna keep doing this. We're gonna grow. So bear with us. You know, we got it.
As you can see, we got a table. We got a table now.
We're grassrooting it right now. So wherever we can shoot
moved
right
up.
now, we're shooting, and we'll get it all together. Just keep tuning in.
Keep tuning in. Amen. Hey, so Coach, you said you were going to talk about something. You had something you said to me earlier. Talk about some nuclear weapons.
Oh no, I just seen that the Pentagon sent something to the president. I think it was yesterday or something. That they want to get the permission to use nuclear missiles to fight cyber attacks.
I just don't sound right because like they're attacking information. They're like, hey, you know, we're going to stop someone from taking information from us. Nuke them. I don't know. It just seems like I feel like
You can't nuke nobody nowadays.
I feel like you bought right.
If you're gonna nuke somebody, you're nuking somebody out of. You know that that's the last resort.
Right. Well, that's already, like I said, it's like called mutually assured destruction. Like if you nuke somebody, they get to nuke you, and then everybody else nukes each other.
The
It's a
whole
real fucking
everybody,
mess.
one nuke button goes off. Everybody that has one's gonna be like,
Nuke. And it's funny is like everybody. I feel like if they're doing that to get the cyber attacks, you know what they're probably doing? It's probably just because like they have all these nukes, and America spent millions upon millions, billions of dollars making all these nukes and all these weapon sites, launch sites for them, everything else, and they're just like sitting there like, we've spent billions of dollars on this, and we're not using them.
I feel more of it's they're not competing. Like what we talked about, like say for instance, the hacking of like the Bitcoin system.
Right.
I believe that our cyber defense is not unable to combat it, and it's frustrating. They keep finding ways around it, and they're using this as a scare tactic. Because you're not going to drop
still-
you fight cyber.
could, like, I
that's
mean-
like going to a gunfight but you come in with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, right.
But it's agreed upon. You know what I mean? It's like you fight, like go into a boxing ring, but the guy, like if McGregor and
Mayweather.
Floyd, but he just said no. I'm start kicking you.
yeah, right. Exactly.
It's like agreed. You fight cyber crime with cyber defense.
Right,
You don't
exactly.
drop missiles on it.
You know, you ever wonder in that fight with Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, if like in Conor McGregor's mind, he had like an instinct to use his legs.
He probably did. That would stop you. That would distract him during the fight. Even though I don't think he can beat him if he was like boxing and he did it he prepared for a whole year. Floyd's just more technical. But he's in his head like, oh, I can kick him right now. But
Right.
he can't. And
Right, but he
instead of
can't.
throwing a punch, he did that.
Right, like I said, because that's like UFC. I was just wondering that because you think about like throwing a kick, like in the back of my head, like I feel like if I was in a fighting arena where I could use like basically every portion of my body, right, and then I went to a place where like I can only use one portion of my body, more so the upper area, and like just duck around and everything else.
Yeah,
Like in
you're
boxing,
gonna
it would
think about it.
Right, I was just gonna say like I guarantee that would like cross your mind a couple of times, like as you're like do it like, oh, I can't, like out of habit, because I was just thinking about boxers, like in general, or not boxers but like MMA fighters, like they go into a boxing ring and they're just sitting there like about ready to kick somebody, and then they get like disqualified or like whatever from
Right.
the match because they just go and start trying to kick somebody.
Well, most of all, like even you're gonna have the restraint. You might a lesser restraint disciplined person.
Right.
Most people in martial arts and boxing are very disciplined.
Right.
But of course, you're gonna find somebody that's not disciplined that maybe gets even in MA fights does things that they're not supposed to do. Right. So they're gonna do that. But somebody like McGregor, he's very disciplined. But what's more important is, and I guarantee you that Floyd and them thought about this before, is the mental part of what you just said. Is like he thought about it. The second you start thinking, you're losing because you're not fighting.
Right.
He could have been throwing a punch, but he's like, oh my God, I can kick him right now instead of throwing that punch. So what's Floyd doing? I'm hitting you. You know what I mean? So it's more of a mental. Yeah, it's going to slow down your fight game. So I know that played a factor in it. Now that even speaking on that, even though that's what it is, we're going wherever we go with it. But I would like to see, they're talking about it, Floyd going into the cage. Now, McGregor, I think, would fuck him up.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he's not going to be able to box his way out of that.
This is like a conversation like you could have had like 3 months, 4. What was it? It was like in summer, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was
but
like
they
forever.
I mean, they've been talking about, but they just now officially saying like Floyd's thinking about doing it, which I think is, if he gets like $300 million out of it, I'd do it right now.
I'd do it. Like just beat me in the ring. Like I'll take this.
I wouldn't even train.
I'll take this beating. I'll take it. Like $300
I
million.
would tap out as soon as he, I'd let him put me in a chokehold and tap out.
People would be so mad, but you'd just be like, hey, whatever.
Hey, I did walked away with 300 mil.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, wow, I can't believe that fight. You know what I mean?
But what more important, is it worth Floyd doing it for the 300 mil, or would you do you want to go out? Like, the worst thing I've ever seen is athletes. Like, worst thing I've ever seen in my time was watching Muhammad Ali in his later years still fighting, because he needed money. But he was getting it, you know what I mean? He can't fight younger. He was getting beat. It was like disheartening. Do you want to stain your for the money? Is it worth it?
No.
Do you think your legacy going on, or do you want the bag?
I kind of want the legacy.
Yeah, because you got all the money.
Because like you got all the money. Like if you got that much money when you got out, I mean, like I said, I definitely would think you want to do that and get the legacy.
Yeah.
And then you could, you know what I mean? Because like if you have the money and you know how to spend it right, you could keep the money. You don't have to keep fighting people. You can have that legacy and not have it tarnished. You know what I mean? Especially like all the wins on all the epic fights he had and everything else.
Yeah, that goes in, and that's perfect segue into our topic today. Athletes, are they worth the money that they're paid? Athletes, we're gonna jump into a few different things with this. Like, are they worth the money? Because some people think they are, some people are not. Athletes that, like, the percentage of people that actually get the chance to make that money and pass up on college and get into education. Athletes actually having to work in college, you know what I mean? Because these are all things that people are saying when they're saying they're worth it. Are they worth it? The people that don't think athletes are worth that money, they're saying, oh, they went to college, they don't have to do no work in college, and then they end up getting paid all this money. You know, me personally, I think, okay, we'll say professional sports teams very rarely are in the red. Mm-hmm. Most sports teams that are in the red is either baseball. The last one was,
When you say in the red, you mean like they're not
they didn't make money.
Oh, okay.
The team,
right,
the
okay,
organization didn't
okay.
make. They owed money, but most of it's because they either had to invest into a new stadium. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So they're paying. That's what that is. But average NFL team, we'll use NFL as an example, makes like $279,000 profit. Right. I mean, million profit.
I was like 1,000. I'm like, man,
that ain't worth it. Well, anything's worth it.
Practice squad players get paid that money. Like, and you're sitting here like, I'm like, well, that's
low. Yeah, $279 million.
Okay.
But the thing about buying a sports thing, they're not. It's more of long-term investment, because I think Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys for $100 million, and now it's worth what, like $2 billion?
Yeah, it's like worth like $2 billion, like one of the most expensive franchises, and
that's where he's getting his money from.
Right, exactly, because the increase in value of the franchise.
Right.
So but my opinion, as of right now, I'm going to say that I don't think athletes should be paid as much.
You don't think they should?
No.
Why?
Well, okay. Well, take it from me, who's a fan of the Raiders, and I have Derek Carr on my roster, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the problem is I think the prices for these players is just getting to an absorbent amount. Like, because you're almost overpaying to keep anybody. If you want any player, you have to overpay him. What the problem is these teams are these franchises. Like I said, are letting the players run away with them. Like the franchises are just letting themselves be bullied over by them. They're like, hey, like Derek Carr, he's a franchise quarterback. We're gonna keep him. How much we're gonna pay him? More than anybody else has ever been paid before, 150 mil or something like that, right? You know what I mean? Like, there you go, boom. Like there's your bag, right? And then, like, what we got on the other side of that is we got Khalil Mack on the defensive side of the ball, and he's going to need paid this coming year. And how much is he going to get paid? Probably paid more than Von Miller, because they got to pay him more than any other guy, because that's what it is when you're a star player. It's all about getting that extra $10 million more than the other star player before you. And it's getting to this point now where I've seen it in the league where, like, rosters are starting to falter and almost in a way, because, like, I'm starting to see these rosters now. I mean, like I said, the Patriots, I think that's one of the reasons why they're successful, is because they make good moves in that department, because they don't overpay nobody. Like Chandler Jones, that, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's a monster for Arizona right now. He was like one of the best. I think he led the league in sacks or something like that this year. But
they only pay the one their front office is excellent with finding players and using the salary cap. Right. Because that's what you're playing against.
Right, exactly what I'm saying. And like I said, like, if you're talking about, like, the overpaying, like, it's not overpaying in the sense that, like oh, I'm jealous you make too much money. It's more like it's almost killing the sport in a way, because like the rosters are starting to suffer. I'm starting to see it, because if you ever look at the teams now, a lot of them got holes in them. Like you know what I mean? Like, the Vikings are there, and like I said, they're just kind of lucky and fortunate that Case Keenum came to play. You know what I mean? And everything else, because you know what I mean?
And well, that's the problem, though. I believe, like, what I believe is, like, the owners in the front offices are dumb.
Exactly my point.
It's not. We're not saying they're dumb for signing the people. They're dumb for not knowing how to work the salary cap and draft.
Right, and you know what they're doing to compensate for the fact that, because they're so desperate to find players, and when they find a good one, they pay them an absorbent amount of money. And it's ridiculous just to keep them around. And the problem is that number is going to keep going up exponentially. And like I said, I mean, I can't fault these guys, because they're making stupid money. They're making dumb money. Like I said, Derek Carr's thing, and then Matthew Stafford got paid. He got an extension, didn't he? He got paid more than Derek Carr, I think.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, I mean, but is it but going to say, like, there's, like, me looking at it, okay? Mm-hmm. You got $1 billion business. Billions of dollars are being moved around in the NFL, okay?
Right, yes.
Now, with things coming up with, like, CTE and all that and the later things, and now they're just getting to these facts. Well, I mean, people are killing. Like, Junior Seau killed himself.
Right, I know what you mean, right? And it was all for the fact that he could tell people there's something wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Wasn't that, like, the reason why?
Right. But now they're just getting, like, they had to settle a lawsuit. Mm-hmm. It was a couple billion. I still don't think it was enough. You know, they're getting to so many people, but they're going to continue having to pay that.
Because they knew about it, right? I know what you mean. And then they're sitting here they're paying the players, and they're taking all the precautions and everything. But we could get into, like, the whole precautions that, like, the league, NFL takes. Like I said, we're not just talking about that too. I mean,
but that's a decision you have to make.
Right? Exactly.
As a player, you can't say, I can't go in there thinking of one thing that I can say is, okay, I'm going to give, like, if you want to win, you got to make some decisions that some people make. That some people take pay cuts to get. Cool. I think Tom Brady did it. I think Ben Roethlisberger did it. He could have asked for more money, and he took a pay cut instead of asking for more money,
so he could win games.
So he could get the players that he needed.
Right.
There's people like that, but they're already set. These are guys that, like, okay, I want to win football games. I already made, and they did right with their money.
Right. That's what I'm saying, and that's why you're seeing the success of organizations like that. Because especially, like, we're talking just NFL right at the moment.
Yeah.
But you go.
But it's any sport.
But it's any sport, you know, like
team
I said,
sport.
Yeah, any team sport, like I said, because you're paying these people just an absorbent amount of money, like I said again, we'll go back to Derek Carr situation, and he's taking that money because he's like, well, you want to keep me that bad because it's a franchise so desperate, you know, because, like, for 12 years, 13 years, you know, ever since I've basically been alive, like, ever after the 2002 Super Bowl and everything else, like, the Raiders have been garbage.
Okay, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
And right, you know what I mean. But I still watch.
There's only a handful of teams that are successful.
Right, exactly.
Year in, year out.
Year in, year out. Right, and it has a lot to do with, like, an era and organization. But now we're talking about the athletes being paid. Like I said, I'm just starting to see rosters in the NFL suffer because they're overpaying. Like McCutcheon, didn't he just for the Pirates? It was just like that.
He just got traded.
He just got traded. How much is he getting paid?
I didn't see how much he's getting paid, but the fact of the matter is that what it is the owners in the front office, the Pirates, are not committed to win.
Right. Exactly.
They're
fucking
thinking bottom line.
Yeah.
They're not thinking winning a championship. And to me, doesn't it make sense if you win, wouldn't you make more money off of merchandising and the next year's
people coming to your stadium to watch games and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like if you're garbage, no one's gonna come and want to watch you.
And they're successful business people.
You know what's
I just
really
don't
funny?
think they're committed to win.
Just a funny thing I wanted to say. You ever notice that there's actually the Browns went 0-16. There was probably more Browns fans in the stadiums of the Browns games than there were at the LA Chargers and LA Rams games. You know how crazy that is?
That's probably true. One, because they moved.
Right.
They moved.
Right.
And that caused an issue.
Right, exactly.
So they're going to, plus a little bit has to do because everything's down because of the boycotts. That's just a fact.
Right.
You know, so yeah, that is, but the Browns are, like, Cleveland is a blue collar, support their team no matter what.
Yeah, I get you. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, it is funny that they're 0-16.
And they still had more support from their city than they did, even though they were booing them maybe at the stadium and they were saying things like they had the parade. You know, but they still. All right, back on track. I just thought that was funny. It was
we can go wherever it takes us, but we just get, like you said, we get back to where we're going.
Yeah.
But bottom line, like, I look at it like this.
Okay.
I coach. I know what goes on. Like, people are making money off of Pee-wee players. AAU teams are making money. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not being put in the forefront, but there's money being passed around for certain players to go here, certain players to go here.
Right.
That's happening. Kids are, they go to high school. You know what I mean? That's where it's like, okay, now we're looking at college. You're good enough to get into college.
Right. Like I said, we looked up that statistic yesterday, and it's like almost like 0.2% or something like that, or 0.9% of the people that play in high school go to college and play football.
Yeah. Would it be go to college and play football? Because every college pretty much has a football, and there's a lot of colleges.
Right.
I'm thinking that's saying of the percentage of the
Division I football.
Division I, yeah. And now Division I football, those big schools are making shit tons of money. I mean, bags and bags of money off these players.
Right, exactly. And not one of those college players gets paid.
No.
And that's something I would agree with more. If college players were getting paid, and that's almost something I could maybe even see in the future. College players should be getting paid. Because if they did, then they get to the pros. If they get to the pros, right? And it just, for one, it makes their lives easier in college, but also then they get to the pros. And then it's not as reasonable to overpay them for things like that, you know? Like, because college players are like putting all of this stuff on the line, on the grind to get to the NFL.
And I would like to see the statistics of, like we talked about, like I said, like, I think that, like, you sports, like, every time I did a lot of youth development, I talked to the kids saying to them, like, use your talent. Like, bottom line is, like, the percentage we just talking about, you're not going to get to the NFL and become a bottom. I'm not saying don't strive for that, but you got to think outside that. So when you go to school, you can get a scholarship to go to a good school, find a profession you're passionate about, make sure you go and finish your school, because even if you do make it, how many times have we seen where your leg thrown out and your leg blown out, or how many people get to that point and then they're out? If you didn't get your college education, now what do you got to do?
Nothing. You have nothing to live for.
Unless you go back and
do it, and then
do it again. Now you're way behind, and
yeah, right. You're paying more money again.
So I always understood why Mom was like, whatever you're doing, your dream. I was always told what I was doing wasn't silly, no matter how silly it sounded. It was like, if that's what you're gonna do, do it, but always make sure you have a fallback.
Right, a backup.
I understand that.
Right.
And I think, like, the drive for that money, that they don't think about the fallout plan. Like, it won't happen to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
I won't get hurt.
Right, exactly. Well, more so from my perspective, like, we'll get back to, like, what I was saying about the NFL now. Like, okay, because, like, now we got Derek Carr here who's got all this money, and then they got to sign Khalil Mack. And they're going to have, like, no cap space left, and what's going to happen is that roster is going to legitimately suffer unless they make good draft decisions, because it starts making a lot of banky decisions. Like you got to start banking on a lot of things to happen.
Well, that's what you have to. That's not number one.
Right. But like
you look at how much cap space, then you look at the players. The players are at the bottom.
Right. Exactly is what I'm saying. Like,
how much profit are we going to make? How much cap space do we have?
and like I said, and how are we going to effectively use that to best suit our team? The problem is they're taking
making
that cap
piss-poor
space.
decisions.
They're taking that cap space and all that money because, like I said, these college players, like these NFL players, are bullying basically these NFL.
I don't think it's bullying. You see
right,
that?
well,
I don't think it's bullying. Because they're using them.
Right, it's right.
So the players are standing up to the bullies. A billionaire cannot be bullied by a millionaire or a thousandaire.
Right, but at the same time too, I know what you're saying, but I'm saying though, like they're pulling out the money, right, to overpay these guys essentially, because like I can understand like a contract with some of these guys. I'm like, okay, you're very talented, you needed this amount of money, I could see that, but like Derek Carr after this season, he showed that after he just had a horrible season, like, and maybe he's recovering from an injury, whatever. He just showed he didn't really deserve that huge contract he got, and that, you know what I mean. And maybe
now we're gonna see though. Yeah, it could be anything.
Right.
It could have been the coaching.
Right. It could have been. You're right, and that's what I'm saying. It could have been a lot of things.
It could have been a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was just saying now.
If he has a back-to-back one, you can judge that.
Yeah. But I'm saying like he had just a terrible year, and how are you gonna go now and tell this guy that, you know, like, hey, this is the amount we're getting? I'm not saying this is where I'm gonna go back to your bullying thing, right? Because like these NFL players, okay, these I would say more so maybe they're afraid, like the owners are afraid because they get these good players, and they're so afraid of losing them that they overpay them. They pay them an exorbitant amount of money, and what happens is the rest of the league and like all these players start to suffer, and it's starting to happen in all kinds of teams and rosters around the league. Like, you know what's funny? I think about the Browns a lot. Like, I mean, like I said, I think it was a lot of coaching this year that like made them really bad.
No,
because they had pieces.
It's their front office. They don't have their offense wasn't being used right. Yeah,
right. But I said they had pieces. And the problem was they had potential. Sorry, and it wasn't extended upon. You're telling me you like with the draft they had, the players they got, the free agents they picked up.
But they were competitive, bro. They lost like half their games by 3 points.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Or maybe even more than half.
Right, but I'm saying like they were, like I said, they were there.
Yeah.
All those games. And like I said, you could say the coaching because it's situational football. But you have all those pieces, and you're telling me you couldn't win one game, right? And that's what I'm saying.
Sometimes
is like
it happens,
right?
Man.
But the pieces, like you got a team like the Browns they're not overpaying anybody right now. I can't think of one person on that roster, Brock Osweiler, unless they took his contract down again. No.
Brock doesn't play there. He plays for Denver now.
Right, he left. Okay, I forgot. But like,
Brock's getting paid by 3 different teams, and he sucks. That's the problem.
Right, exactly.
They gave him a contract off Denver's defense.
Right, exactly.
Because he proved nothing. Houston, this is all the owners doing this.
Right, exactly.
They're stupid. They're not evaluating people by. They're not going to look at if I'm going to pay somebody millions of dollars, you know, even if I'm going to draft them, I'm looking at so much tape of that person in every scenario to see how he's going to react and what he needs. Where's the upside? Is it worth investing our time in this guy? I'm not going to watch a highlight reel of him because that's just going to show me the good he did. It's not going to show me how he handled this situation when you're down 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? And in college, it is kind of hard to judge because you're playing against like how the Steelers defense was. This last time I'll speak on that, but I had to throw that in there. Like the Steelers defense, that's pretty much a college defense. They're undisciplined. They're not in, you know, they're over pursuit. They try to do too much. So you're not really getting a good gauge. You have to look deep before you draft somebody.
Right. And the question was, are NFL, or not NFL players, but professional athletes, are they getting overpaid?
Overpaid, yeah.
Right. And I say yes. I didn't say who the fault of that was, though. And that's not what we're arguing here, because you're right. I agree. The owners are being dumb, and they're letting themselves pay these guys an exorbitant amount of money. I'm not putting on the players at all, because if I'm
just saying you're like they're bullying, but I don't see it as a bully.
That's what I said. I changed it. It's more like they're afraid. They're all these owners of these teams are afraid because they're on the hot seat or whatever, or these GMs are on the hot seat for success. And what do, they like the GMs probably go up and say, hey, like, you know, like we gotta pay this guy. Like, we gotta pay this guy because he's blah blah blah. He's this good, you know, whatever. Like, And that's what I'm saying. And like these players, they shouldn't get mad. They're like, what if I'm Derek Carr and I go into a sit down in a contract and then someone just looks at me and says, hey, he had 2 or 3 great years, and then someone guy looks at me and says, we're gonna pay $150 million, right?
And I didn't even see I didn't see no greatness in Derek Carr. I seen that they had a good overall team. Their defense was doing a lot.
Now that's what I'm saying though, right? But I'm saying regardless of context, right? With that, okay. You go in and some guy looks at you and says, "I'm hiring you $150 million for your performance," right?
You're take
the most that anybody's ever been paid until Matthew Stafford got his extension. Yes, you're gonna take it. That's what I'm saying. The question is, are they getting overpaid? Yes. And the reason why they're getting overpaid is because of these owners that are afraid of losing. Now, the NBA is different. I want to talk a little about the NBA because these players are down, the league now is like just becoming a bunch of super teams almost. Like, you know what I mean? You ever notice just 3 teams right now, 4 teams?
Yeah, that's the way that they let it happen.
Right.
They let it happen, but because there's the how much they pay and how much, which, see, it goes back to, you got that saying where they say we all got 24 hours in a day.
Right.
Any sport that has a cap space on it, you have the same amount to make the same moves. So to me, it has nothing to do with it's who you're choosing and who you're saying. If like the Steelers do this all the time, they let a person go get your money because we don't have it to give to you because we need to fill these parts.
Right, and that's why I said does what teams like them and
the Patriots
are more successful.
They do it, man down, man up, and what that comes to is the whole organization has to be on the same page. Like, okay, I know next year our best cornerback is this much he's on the market.
Right.
This is how much he's asking. I got to make sure his backup is up to par. If not, we're gonna have to pay him.
Like that's what I like. I mean, I'll bring it to like Madden or something like that, right? But like we do that. It's the same concept when I play franchise mode. Like, you know what I mean? Like I make sure I've drafted a corner that is capable of playing after that guy goes because his contract's gonna go out. He's like, say he's like a like an 87 overall. That number is just going to gauge how good a corner is, right? Like you just said. Okay, he's 87 overall. He's like 28 years old, 29. He's, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, some corners can bloom in that time, right? We'll go to a position that's a little bit more like age running back, right? I got a running back, and he's there. He's getting paid like 16 mil, and he's 29 years old. You know what I mean? It's last year of his contract. I got to make sure I got a running back behind him, or I've drafted one that is going to be, you know what I mean, that is going to be up to par, that's going to be able to take over the carries and, you know, run just as efficiently. Because instead of, but what a lot of teams are doing is instead of doing that, they go, this guy's great, let's give him more money. You know what I mean?
Well, you kind of like, if you get like the Le'Veon Bell situation, they're in a sticky situation.
Right, because Le'Veon Bell's like, okay, that's a good way to look at this. And Le'Veon Bell, he thinks he's worth, you know, the mountaintop and you know God's graces, you know, the whole spiel. And the Steelers organization is like, dude, we're not willing to pay you that much. You know what I mean? And that's a smart move, in my opinion, because running backs are, I mean, not to say they're a dime a dozen, but you know, you could get a decent running back.
Well, the point he's trying to make, and he's looking at it like, I'm getting just as much that you're offering me by letting you franchise tag me.
Right.
He wants a long deal because you want to get as upfront money as you can before you get hurt.
Right.
So he's taking a big gamble. And he's known for getting hurt. The Steelers are like, okay, so we can tag him 2 years. And they were thinking this team right here was going to get it. Like, they were going to win.
Right.
So they could have got to him and been like, come on, let's not break this up. They were looking for another leverage. It's all leverage in business.
Right.
They do it properly. Other teams fail to do it. Like you said, they pick out players and say, Matthew Stafford's shouldn't be the richest player in the NFL.
He's a really good quarterback. He's really good, but he's
not winning the accolades.
But the reason why is because they've spent, and that's the mistake the Detroit Lions are going to make again. They're going to overpay Matthew Stafford and what they're going to do is they're going to wait, because that's the thing, Matthew Stafford's playing out of his mind, even though they're losing games and winning games because, you know, there's nothing.
Their defense can't.
And the reason why is because
they can't pay.
Because they can't pay him, because they're overpaying and taking cap space
away.
So
you got to figure out what is the one you want to give up.
What exactly the
If
point?
you're like the Steelers, let's put it like this: the Steelers, even though I believe even without Shazier, that defense should have played better than they did with the players they have on there. So the Steelers were looking at for years. The Steelers put all their money into defense. When the league started changing fast paced, they went to offense, which most team did. You got to decide: do we want to put our money into having a stout defense? Because you can't have both. Right. You're not going to have a high octane offense, and you're not going to have a stout defense. You're not going to have two number ones or top fives, offense and defense. You're not. You got to give up one,
right?
Because of the money,
right? Exactly. But I always think about it like this though. The lack of teams with there's a lot of teams with positional holes that can be filled, in my opinion, if you had the cap space for them, right? And the problem is. What I do like about this is with this overpaying stuff going on, there's less cap space. We're getting the opportunity to see players that would have never seen the field because NFL teams are just we got to throw this guy in because he's who we got.
I think a lot of and that's one point that I wanted to get at too. A lot of people spend a lot of their life trying to get to that spot. A lot of practice squad players are getting a shot
because like I said, people are getting hurt. They ain't got the money to go out and just go sign some free agent, and they don't want to blow that cap just that 1 year, $1 million cap. They're like, you know what? Why don't you just come here to our team? You know what I mean? Take you up from the practice squad. We'll pay you whatever.
You get they'll get the league minimum. And then, but they have a shot.
They have a shot at making more money.
And who did that recently? That won the Super Butler from
Malcolm Butler. Yeah, exactly. He went from the practice squad to the interception,
sealing the Super Bowl to a contract.
Not even that. And he was good. He was a shutdown corner for the New England Patriots. Right. And you got to think about it like that. I mean, is that I want to go and talk about other franchises and sports leagues, but I mean, it's everywhere you go. It doesn't matter where you are.
It's pretty much the same. Just baseball, you got the same amount of baseball. For instance, Kansas City Royals. Mm-hmm. What they did with that roster, they filled the roster with young coming up stars. For those 2 years, they lost the first year in the World Series, but they came back and won.
Right, exactly.
Chicago Cubs just did it. That is the trend that they got to start thinking. If your guy obviously somebody like Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger.
Matthew Stafford, he's older. He's not as.
We're not even saying older. I mean, if you got a franchise, you can't get rid of a franchise quarterback.
Right.
Just like in baseball, you can't get rid of your pitcher. If you got a great pitcher and he's young and you want to hold on to him, you want to give that guy because you need a starting pitcher that can set off the rotation.
But here's what I was going to tell you, okay? But when does the line get drawn? When does it stop? Because every quarterback that from this draft out that has a good 2-3 years is after that rookie contract is going to want to be the next highest paid quarterback in the league. That's what's happening. It's literally what's happening right now. And my question is to you, when are the owners going to draw that line in the proverbial sand and say, no, no, we're not paying you anymore because it's ridiculous. It's going to get to the point where
I don't think they can.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. But there's going to have to be a point because what's going to happen.
The point is the salary cap. That's the line in the sand.
Right.
You have to decide.
That's what I'm saying. When are they? But I'm saying their proverbial
They're not. They can't. There's nothing they can do.
They can't say that. No, I'm not going to sign the quarterback.
Yeah, they can say that, but they're not going to win.
Right, but then at the same time, how are you gonna? You're gonna go get a team. That's what I'm starting to see is these teams with quarterbacks, but there's nothing happening for them. Do you understand what I'm saying?
You got to think.
But then you got to think long term because then you're okay. Well, in 4 years, our cap will come back, and then we'll put a team together.
Okay, so let's say for instance, Carson Wentz. When his rookie contracts went up,
right?
Does he deserve to go in there and say, "I want the highest paid quarterback"?
Right, but there's been quarterbacks that do just as just as well or just as good, and the ones before him weren't paid as much. Is what I'm saying.
Goff too.
Okay, like I said, but then they go in, they ask for their rookie contract, and hey, I want this now. I want to be the next highest paid quarterback or player in the league. That's what I want to be, right? And they go in And then, if you're an NFL franchise, you say, sure, we'll go ahead and do that, right? Make you that next highest paid NFL franchise guy, right? And then watch, though, as the success of the team stutters, it hurts you in the profit margin because you have a great quarterback. But then what happens is, you have to start banking on you finding nobodies because you can pay them less to become good. And that's what I said, that's what I do like, is these players that are on the practice squad and everything and everything else are getting the opportunity because they got to start, because they're overpaying,
They have
to overpay these stars, and they have no money. So what do? We got to go and we got to sign Joe Schmo over here, the Patriots. They got to sign the cashier at the Walgreens down the street, and they got to go and have him become the wide receiver of the starting wide receiver. And they got to pay him.
But there's no way they're not gonna. It's not the owners are by the balls because they are literally making billions of dollars, not the year in year out. It's because the price of the what do they call it, how much the team's worth. What is that called? Whatever that is, how much the team's worth net worth is going up every year. So whatever you invested, they're making money. So they have no say in it.
Right.
It's the NFL and the Players Association that are saying, you know what, they figured, seen the books and said, you guys been making
this
money off of us for years and years and years and years. We want to even this out. The players should be paid, but like you said, they should be paid. And there's people
But that's the problem, because you have the thing called the cap space.
Right.
And the cap space makes you it limits you. So even if even if they're getting paid millions and millions and millions of dollars, the billions, the owners, you know what I mean? There's that cap space, and that limits them anyway, regardless of how much they can pay out. You know what I mean? If it would be different, it'd be different if the cap was proportional.
I think that's the line in the sand.
Right.
That's to make sure that the NFL keeps making their profits, and that the
But then what it's doing is it's going to force. What I'm saying though is it's going to force players, unless they do a cap, they do a cap update where they make it a higher, they average out the cap to be higher for all the teams because of how much they're paying players. They make
you're still going to only have a certain percentage of teams that are still going to make the right decisions.
Right. I know what you're saying, but this is what I'm saying to you. Because they're going to have to at some point, because if you're going to keep overpaying people, or you're going to keep paying them what they deserve, in my opinion, then you're going to have to make it so there's a higher cap for the whole entire league, almost. You know what I mean? We're going to say, okay, now because a lot of people average out 10 or something like that. They get real low on their cap, but they're gonna add cap space to you. They're oh, here's an additional 20 or something, whatever. Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna start seeing the decline, I believe, in the competition of the league. I don't know. I foresee that happening because you're overpaying so many players. You're paying, like I said, that's what I'm saying. I'm worried about the Raiders because they're going to be paying two guys on both sides of the ball $100 million, and the rest of that team's going to suffer. And just because I have the guys that I like, I like Derek Carr, I like Klimak, I'd like to keep him around. But we're going to watch the rest of my team and my franchise suffer because of that, because they can't afford to pay the people. And we're going to have to bank on, Joe from down at Walgreens to come in here and play wide receiver.
But you got to look at it is in the same way. No matter what you change it to, it's still going to be the same problem.
In a way, yes.
It's still, even if you raise the cap,
right?
It's going to turn into the third best player.
Right, exactly what I'm saying.
You're still going to have to count on Joe Schmo at the fucking
Right, but I'm saying okay, but that third best player, that's what I'm talking about. That third best player. I've seen teams that let that guy go. Like I said with the Patriots with the Chandler Jones thing. He wanted more money and he was crying around. And what did they do? They shipped him off to the Browns, and then he got
his money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's part of the game. You got to deal with it.
But I'm saying with NFL players, or the players themselves, at some point someone's got to, if you're the franchise team, the franchise with that guy, you gotta look and say, I'm not paying you that much. If somebody goes somewhere else and gets paid, good.
Okay.
Good for that team.
And then now what's going to happen? Say they did that with Derek. We're going to use because you keep going.
Right. Okay.
What if they said that to Derek Carr and he said, okay, and he left,
and he got paid somewhere else,
and then don't have at least quarterback that you
Yeah,
got to
right. I know
start
what
all
you're saying.
over. So
Right.
the years are going to go by that you
Right.
suck.
Yeah, exactly. But either way, you have the same thing. I mean, I agree with like you got to pay somebody to keep them there, but I'm saying like how high is it gonna get? How high is it gonna? And like I said, as high as it needs to be. That's what it's gonna be.
Right.
As high as it needs to be to keep that guy around. That's what I'm thinking about.
Right,
When I
right.
say-
And
when
we're looking at it like more or less of what I'm saying is like the average Joe on the street is
Right.
like hardworking, works a job, makes,
comparative to those athletes. Now we're talking comparative to athletes.
yeah.
Or like
They're saying like this is where I got the plan to talk about it, is they're like during the protests. That's
right.
where it all came out, where everybody was just like, well, people always say it, when your team loses and the guy paid $100 million and he dropped the ball or he threw an interception. You know how people get. They're
Right.
like, oh, these people are paid $1 million. All you have to do is throw a football.
You know what I mean?
It's a hard thing to do.
You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
we talked about the stats of, like I said, only about like 2% of the college athletes make it to the NFL. But not only that, that's because you got to think about it like this: of that 2%, how many of those players are going to make it to the NFL, stay on a roster, and get paid? Not very many of them. I tell you that. Not a lot of them.
And then people are saying like, they're like, okay, so that's how it came about during the protest. You started seeing people saying like, all they have to do is play football, but you're putting your, like, just like everybody's getting up and going to work. You think these guys just get up and go out and play football on Sunday?
Yeah, you think they haven't
That's
spent
not what happens.
years and years of practice and working.
There's people that bust their butt every day to get what they're doing, and it's in a market where the owner is getting billions. That's where workers have unions.
Right.
They're going in there saying you're making millions and millions of dollars and you're paying them peanuts.
Right, exactly.
That's what the NFL players are doing to them, and it's like it's
right.
entertainment. Anything entertainment. Like, if we're saying it, like, do actors deserve the money?
Right, exactly. But it's funny is no one would say that. No one would say all you do is go on a stage and make a movie. Right, but they
It's
don't
their
understand.
craft.
But they don't understand
Yeah.
how you go in and you sit down all day, all night. And I don't care what anybody says. Anything's hard.
Yeah.
Everything's hard. No matter what you do, there's nothing
If you
easy
went
in life.
to school to be a machinist, I'm saying, and you're good at your job, you should be paid the top of whatever machinist is paid.
Right, exactly.
But the thing is, you chose to be a machinist. They busted their butts to become professional athletes.
If you would have just worked your whole life and you would have worked on throwing a football or running a football or becoming fast or becoming strong or anything like that, you could become an athlete and get paid that. But the thing is, it's so hard. You understand the statistics. It's easier to become a machinist than it is to become an NFL superstar. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are basically playing the equivalent of the lottery almost with their lives, because they train their butts off and pray to God that maybe someday they'll get a chance to get on that field and make millions of dollars. Thousands.
And I just think if the market allows it, like, I think we should be saying to, like, the blue, and this is the point where I was trying to get at. Like, I'm not mad at the $100 million athlete because I understand what it takes to get there. I'm mad at how our system is set up for the average, Joe blue collar work that goes to work and they're not getting paid their fair wages, and then they turn around and blame the guy that got in the game that's paying them, instead of going after our government to make the proper changes.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't make no sense to me. Like, you guys are getting mad at people that, you know what I mean, that are they're just using their skill, their life skill, and worked hard to go, and they're making that money, instead of saying, why ain't we changing our system so our blue collar workers are not being taxed so much, are not taking the brunt of all the issues of taxing in our country? That has nothing to do with an athlete. Has nothing to do with an athlete or anybody that gets paid.
Right.
That's
exactly
what they
I'm
chose
saying,
to
Coach.
do.
Exactly, Coach. Exactly. That's what I mean.
And I think that's what we need to work on right there, is figuring that out.
Figuring that out. Agreed. Because it's not like that. You know what I mean? Like I said, it shouldn't be like that where these NFL players are getting paid millions and millions of dollars, and then, you know what I mean, you have a job where it's a good job. It takes technical work, skill, 4 years of college, the whole schmeal. Because, I mean, if you think about it, be an NFL player or anything else, you usually have to be some kind of collegiate
Yeah.
You go to kind of collegiate school or something.
And well, they say that's a thing that goes around too. A lot of those guys don't even have to do any work because they're an athlete.
Right, but they do.
And I believe that. Well, I believe it's if they somewhere, I guarantee you, like somewhere, some of these schools that players don't have to do much.
Yeah, it's like
they know. Oh, that's the starting guard
I know
for
there was
Alabama.
a whole scandal in Kentucky with the basketball team. There was a whole scandal there or something. But maybe it was
It's in every school.
But yeah, I mean,
it's in every school. They cover up the bad things they do. If a grade's down and they tried to help them fix it and it still doesn't get, because you have to have grades to play football to keep your scholarship.
Right.
You telling me that they're not
just writing
it off or going to the teacher and saying, hey, our starting right tackle, he just doesn't get it. He's not going to get it, but you got to pass him.
He's our right tackle. He's not getting it, but he's our starting right tackle.
So pass him.
Just
that's happening. I agree on that. I agree. Like there should be better restrictions where, maybe that is an issue too. They should. I think like if you like that should.
Like I said, I have a friend who is a
just
college athlete.
Pay the college athletes so much and make them stay 4 years before they're eligible for the draft in any sport.
Right. Exactly. I could definitely go and agree with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely. Like I could definitely go that route. Like I said, but in terms of comparison to like the average person, like you might be mad about it and you're gonna point the finger at them, but it's not them. You know what I mean? Like if
they're
if
just playing
came,
the same hand everybody's dealt every day.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like if someone came up to you with $1 million, like would you like go, no, I can't take that because everybody else in the world's not getting paid $1 million.
They're not gonna do that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I'm taking the $1 million, like forget y'all. You know what I mean?
And it is sad, like, okay, yeah, we drenched this one out like final point. My final point it is sad that the blue collar person, which I seen were making a lot of those comments. You go on there, I would just for research go say, let me see what this guy, what his life's like. And it's usually blue collar worker because they're taking the brunt of everything like in this country, like America. Like they go to work, they bust their butt, and they seem to be the ones that have to pay the most taxes. I see where it's going. You know what I mean? But I just don't think that we're pointing a finger. You're pointing a finger at the proper people. Those are the things that you guys should be fighting for. Like, going to like saying like, why is this? Like, why is the company getting closed down and shipped to China? Why are we allowing that to happen?
Right.
And the government can say, well, you're not going to get these tax breaks or all these things that you're trying to do, or be able to sell your products.
Like how McDonald's is paying you like what? Like what's the minimum wage for McDonald's or like what like the. Well, they upped it now. Isn't it like 9 something now for working at McDonald's?
I'm not
whatever.
Sure.
They upped it now, but like you sit there and you think about it though, like you're still getting paid peanuts, and like you're working harder than these other guys that got to sit around and like they're making millions. I mean, it's like there's nothing wrong with like I understand like a CEO's job, whatever, is hard, but like some of the stuff, the money they make is just absorbative. Just because they make
but that's what all the cuts and stuff for. Like, do you see the outrage? Like when the housing market happened.
Right.
They were getting bonuses while everything was falling apart,
right.
like hundreds of $1 million bonuses. So we're pointing the fingers at people that, like, I don't know. I understand it's very hard to get up, bust your butt at a blue collar job, labor job, it's very hard. I've done it for years. And but the people are not like it's people don't think that it's hard to get hit 24 to 30 times a game in your head.
Right, exactly. And then like have like a concussion
by the biggest, strongest, fastest athletes in the world.
And like they even have like those 20 for 20s or whatever, where like the guys like or is it 30 for 30?
30 for 30, yeah.
They're 30 for 30, where the guy comes in and he talks to him, or they're talking to him, and like the guy's like, he's like, honestly, he's like, if I would have known what was going on, he's like, I would have chose my health. He's like, I would have quit the league a long time ago. He's like, if I would have known
all the older players are.
Yeah.
But one thing also is, if they did proper with their money,
right?
Think about all the people that they helped around them, like family, wise. Because if you got somebody in your family that's like making extraordinary amounts of money,
but I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about like the concussion protocol and everything, like the health thing.
Right, but they're saying like if I delved into this is what I'm saying. Like some people that didn't take care of their money and screwed, But then you have people that took care of their money, and then you ask them, was it worth it? And they say yes, because I was able to help all these people. Now my whole family straight. Because that's stuff. Getting that amount of money, you can build generational wealth for your family. So they're being the matriarch or patriarch of the family, saying, "Okay, I took a beating. I took my body. I'm screwed right now, but I just built generational wealth for my grandkids."
Right.
So it's more or less of the players that didn't take care of their money.
Right. I got you.
You know what I
so my final point then is, I believe NFL players are overpaid. Not in relation to the public though. The public, the people that are complaining, crying around the NFL players make too much money. If you would have made the decision to go after that, like I said again, it's like winning the lottery for these guys. You understand? They put on all this hard work and everything just for a chance, a minuscule chance to play in a league and make millions of dollars. It's so hard. You know how many people go to college and play football? It's dumb. Nothing's easy. But college or NFL players and athletes alike are all overpaid in my opinion because of the things that they have to do with the owner. Like I said, it's not because, like I said, if someone comes up to me and tells me that they're going to pay me that much money, I'm going to take that much money, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that's fine. If they think I'm worth that I'm going to take that amount of money. However, in the end game, my opinion is that the owners are overpaying these people. If there's something you want to be mad about with that, then you want to talk about that, then you want to do that, then say, owners, you're paying these guys too much money. But in relation to you and your wages, they're not getting paid too much. It's just they took the right precautions. They made the right choices in life. You make a choice in life, you go somewhere, you're going to make more money if you make the right choices. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, that's it.
All right, thank you guys.
Any further information or anything that we missed on, or just your opinion, man, drop us a comment, share.
Yeah, let us know what you
whatever.
Let us know what you think about the whole thing, because like I said, like,
we're just giving you our opinions.
Right.
I think they should be paid more because I'm gonna go be a football player. no, but
they should be paid more.
Just give us your opinion.
All right, as always, guys, we'll catch you later.
All right.
Deuces.